my gosh, that introduction. I mean, kudos to you and your husband for putting that together.
It's so amazing, isn't it? It's so amazing. And good morning, everybody. I see already folks are writing in and welcome into the live and good morning. And if you want to chat in the chat box, please do. We love your comments. I would love for you to share where you're from and one word about how you're feeling today. Totally.
What's your one word?
I feel joyful today. I feel joyful. And I have my favorite coffee cup, which is yellow, which is my favorite color, which is also very joyful.
I am drinking from my Idaho mug, which was my grandmother's mug, who I was very close with. And on the back, it has fun facts about Idaho. And their motto is exist forever, which I thought was appropriate.
Yes. Oh my God. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. My word for today is I feel effervescent. Like I feel like I'm tingling because you and I have been working on producing this morning with Lisa and Dallisa. We've been talking every day for about the last month, putting this together. And we wanted to format it just like a morning show where we will have different segments. We'll have a special guest. And we have a fabulous guest for our first show today. Julian, the London astrologer, will be joining us in a few minutes. But thank you to everybody that's tuning in to our very first episode.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And yeah, I've been so excited about this and I just love you. So I was super happy that we were doing this together, but it's like my dream come true. I was telling my mom this morning, I was like, I remember when I was a kid, I would make all sorts of videos and plays and all sorts of wild stuff when I was a kid. And I was like, this is literally my dream come true to sit and produce a morning show.
I know. I would sit in my backyard at my parents' house and they had this big deck. And I had one of those big radios that had the cassette player on it. And I'd pretend like I was the host of my own radio show. So it finally came true, Lisa. We made it. We did it.
Yeah. Well, and aren't we a little bit psychic? I used to sit on my, this is like even in high school, I would sit on my couch after school and pretend I was interviewing people. I never pretended I was a guest on a show. I was always interviewing people on the show and pretending I was the show host.
Yeah, we're kindred spirits for sure. And why don't we, because some of these people that are watching today have never seen us before. They have no idea who Lisa and Dallisa are. So Lisa, why don't you tell people a little bit about you?
For sure. So my name is Lisa Gunshore, and I am a multi-generational psychic medium. And I have no idea at this point how far back it really goes, because the more I dig, the more on both sides of the family, we have all sorts of gifts. So I'm just kind of summing it up nowadays. I'm also a trance channel and a yoga instructor and an Ayurveda practitioner. So I do all sorts of stuff with health and healing. And I host my own show, Buddhist Biohacker, on the Buddhist Biohacker YouTube channel. And I have lots of great news and things to share today. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I'm Dallisa Hocking. I go back at least 5 generations. It's on my dad's side of the family, being a psychic medium. I will say, though, this is a little bit of a fun fact. So last night we were talking about the Titanic, my parents and I. My last name, the way it's spelled, is very uncommon. And we know that we have relatives from England that share that same last name. Well, 4 of them were on the Titanic. And I was doing a little bit of research last night because I'm like, God, I wonder what these people were like, because the men died and the women lived. And one of the Hocking women, she had a premonition that there was going to be disaster with the Titanic. And I'm like, wait a second, this goes back I don't know how far. So yeah, but I run a company called Spirit and Spark, and I have practitioners that work for my company coast to coast. They're amazing. And we connect people, regardless of where you live in the world, with a practitioner. So psychics, mediums, energy, shamanism, all kinds of good stuff. So it's fun to be here.
Oh my God, Dallisa, I have a relative on the Titanic too.
No way. How do we not figure this out?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure my mom's watching. She can put in the comments who they were, but I know she knows a lot more information than I do. But I know that we had somebody who was in the boat. I think they were in the boat with the chef that lived or whatever it was. I don't know, but that's pretty funny.
The things we find out on our own morning show.
I know. Maybe we're related. We don't even know it.
We probably are. I wouldn't put it past the universe to make that connection. So we have our coffee mugs here.
Yes.
And we put a call out on Lisa's amazing new app that was just released. And we asked people to submit their photo on the app with themselves with a coffee cup, because part of our morning show, which will be on Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, we want to showcase somebody who's a subscriber in the spotlight. So it could be somebody that subscribes to Buddhist Biohacker. It could be somebody that subscribes to Spirit and Spark TV on YouTube. And you drop your photo in Lisa's new app, and you might be featured on the show. Do we want to show our first one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. And I have a little surprise for you too, Dallisa. And here's So our subscriber spotlight today is Magdalena. She is amazing. She is one of our favorite people in our group. And here she is with her coffee mug. She's so
love it.
Magdalena. And I didn't want to leave everyone out. You had such great participation in the new community app. I just wanted to share everybody. So here is everybody here. There's Heather. We love Heather. And there is Mary. We love Mary too. And Eve. And Sherry with her excessive coffee mugs at the end.
I love that. So, it's so cute. I love coffee mugs. They're one of my favorite things to collect. I think they're so fun. Lisa, can you tell people, though, that are watching this and they're like, oh, well, next Thursday, I want me and my mug to be featured. Maybe you have a really cool mug at home that you want us to see. Can you tell them how to upload their photo?
Yes, I can. So you're going to download the Ajatakasha community app, join this morning group. Oh, here, I'll make this longer. There we go. Join this morning group and post your photo with your mug in the group. And for those of you who are already in the Ajatakasha community app, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the program today, we have a new group called This Morning, which is just for our show here, and you can start posting your photos. And it's also our forum. So if you want to continue discussion about things we talk about here, you can do that in there as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love seeing the photos, so make sure you go on Lisa's app. It's incredible. There's a lot of amazing content. So I've been in there posting regularly, and the community you've created is really beautiful. So for everybody watching, make sure you download the free app in the App Store, and then you can connect with all of us. There's people from everywhere in there, so I would highly recommend it. So let's go through some of our community updates really quickly. So Lisa, what do you have on your radar?
All right. So my big news this week is that we have released the Ajatakasha community app. I'm so excited about it. I can't even stand it. So here's the deal. I think a lot of us have been overwhelmed with social media, frustrated with some of the things happening on social media, and are just tired of the spam content and the ads and the algorithms and all those things. So we built such a beautiful community last year of incredible people who are spiritual, and all of you want uplifting content, and part of our mission is creating conscious content here. And so I did the legwork, and I have created my very own community app for all of us. So this is our community app, you guys. It's about nonviolence. It's uplifting content. There's no algorithms. The information is private. Your information's not going to be sold. You're not going to be tracked and traced. It's really for everyone to be seen and heard. And it is just like all of our mainstream social media in the sense that there's private messenger, you can friend each other, you can follow each other. We have so many great groups in the community and they're birthing like right and left. So we have a book club, we have a writers club, we have an artist group, we have music groups for music collaboration. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Food and Ayurveda and fur babies for people who want to share their pets. And we have a lot of leaders in the community who are hosting their own groups in there so that you can connect with them as well. So it's really great. You guys, the app is free. It's free to be part of the community. The premium content I can talk about later, but it's really just, getting additional information from me that supports you and your journey. But the community itself is free and it's growing fast. So it's on Android, it's on Apple, so you can get it on your iPhone, your tablet. And we also have a web version, so you can also access it on your computer as well. So we have everything you need to be a part of this community. So I welcome you in. That's my big update this week. It's so fantastic to scroll a feed that is nothing but, I did like a meditation the other day that Carolina from Finland hosted. Julie posted some really beautiful content. I mean, it's like there's poetry and it's just amazing.
And kudos to you. There was a lot of hard work that went into creating your own app.
Yes, totally. Me and Sienna, my right hand of everything, worked our butts off, but it was worth it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful app. I highly recommend it. I'll give a quick update and then we're going to get into predictions and energy forecasting. And then Lisa and I will talk about kind of what we feel is coming. And then Julia, the London astrologer, is going to be on in just a couple of minutes, which I know we're so excited about. We kind of put a call out to, what astrologers, what kind of psychic or predictive people stood out to us, and Julian's energy just like jumped right off the page. So we're excited to welcome him in just a minute. My big news for this week is my podcast launched today. So yes, it's a big day today. We have the launch of this morning. We have the launch of Highway to Healing, the podcast, which is on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify. There's 4 episodes that dropped as part of the intro pack today, and then there'll be 1 episode each Thursday. The 4 episodes, Jadis, who transitioned from female to male in the small town in New Jersey, Jerry, who tragically lost 2 of her sisters, Lorna, who did a whole mind, body, spirit transformation, and then Kate, who has an episode for the February astrology. So the 4 episodes are phenomenal. I'm excited. It's the first time I've ever had a podcast. I put it off forever and ever, and it's here. So Highway to Healing is the name of it. The goal for me is to have 1,000 listens or downloads in the next 48 hours. And I know that I can do it. And I'm also looking for podcast guests. If you have like a transformation story, or if you went through some kind of tragedy and you came out the other end in a vibrant way, I'd love for you to be a guest on there. All my stuff, and Lisa so graciously put all of our websites at the bottom. You can certainly reach out to me there. But I'm just so excited to be here today.
I know, me too.
I'm like, this is the highlight. This show is the highlight. Because, you and I, we do a lot of predictive, discussions, and we do videos where we talk about what we think is coming. And I know we're going to go over that in a minute, of some things we've already predicted that are now like starting to come true that we want to highlight. But this morning, we're really trying to drive the audience here to get what some of these downloads are that Lisa and I get, because the fun thing about it is Lisa and I get a lot of the same downloads. And so we want to come in here and share it. And then our special guest will always bring in some kind of predictive information as well each week. So this is the show you want to tell all of your friends and family about. So do we want to talk about the predictions that we've done for 2021 that are already starting to come into fruition?
Yes, for sure. And here is our coming in hot predictions and energy segment of the show. Here we go. I love it. I love it. So I love my dear husband who tells me when I'm right.
Can you get an in the comments.
Yes, yes. So I have some updates for everybody out there, and we just wanted to kind of share this because I think it's fun to look back. So we did a prediction show for 2021 in December, which you can find on the Buddhist Biohacker YouTube channel. It is out there. It's also on audio for everybody who listens on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. So one of the things that I predicted for 2021 was mudslides. And sure enough, they've already started hitting. This article is actually just from a few days ago from the LA Times. There's definitely some winter storms that are triggering mudslides in Southern California. And I don't think that that is over. So I wanted to share that with you and share this news article. I also had a very potent dream that we talked about during that segment about a volcano erupting. And sure enough, an Indonesian volcano has already erupted. This is from phys.org, and this is an Indonesian volcano. I believe it was Mount Merapi, but I might be wrong about that, but I think that's what it was. So that was something that I predicted. And then, Dallisa, you talked about a couple of things, and I'm going to pull up this headline and let you talk about earthquakes for a minute.
Yeah, I tend to get a lot of the downloads with earthquakes, and I will actually feel like the earth is shaking around me. And I was getting a lot around Indonesia. I've also the energy around her. But that came in. If we want to go to the Dust and Diamond link.
Boom.
Perfect. So I also received a download that a young male comedic actor, kind of goofy, curly hair, which reminded me when I was reading the energy of kind of like a Seth Rogen type person. And then I got a hit on the confirmation psychically when, unfortunately, this headline came out about Dustin Diamond from Saved by the Bell. I'm like, oh, that's what they were trying to show me, because he has a lot of the energy and the physical characteristics that I was seeing in that vision. So I, of course, don't like to predict when people are going to pass away. But Lisa and I, don't take natural disasters lightly, but we just wanted to point out that we are sensing a lot of volatility with natural disasters this year. And my thought to everyone watching and listening would be, if you feel the sense that you need to move locations, you need to get out of town, you need to gas up your tank in your car, I'd say just listen to your intuition. It's going to help you get through some volatility this year.
Yeah. Well, and to that point too, Dallisa, I think there's a lot happening in the world, right? And there's a lot of changes in governmental systems, financial systems, weather patterns, all of these different things. So, just to piggyback on that, if you're feeling like it's time for you to move or to be on the move, and I know there's a lot of you out there that are very transient right now. I can't believe how many people I've talked to are like, I've sold everything and I'm going to live in a van and just kind of figure out. So just really trust yourself. And when you think it's time to go. Some people may feel like you're in exactly the right spot, but it's going to be important to pay attention to that for sure.
Absolutely. Maybe we should just take a moment before we bring Julian, the London astrologer, in. And if there's anything that you're feeling energetically that you want to talk about, I know that I keep getting hits and downloads about divisiveness. And there's going to be a lot of people trying to vocalize or to take action this year. There's Julian will talk about the astrology, I'm sure. There's a lot coming up. And this year, to me, just feels like a gigantic up and down roller coaster. And that the best thing we can do is go with the flow and not try to control things this year and stay as neutral as possible.
Yep, totally agree. And I think what I want to share, a couple things that came up was, number one, erratic financial stuff. So financial in general, when you look at stock markets and things that are going on, there's going to be a lot of erratic energy coming up this month. And I think we're already seeing that. There's a lot of wild stuff going on out there. I think that's the beginning of what we're going to see. And then also from a weather standpoint, something that came in my monthly transmission this month was really like a lot of cold, bitter air element. So less water element, less big snow kind of stuff, and more like bitter, cold, dry, that kind of energy. So that is definitely what came through for me coming up here as we go into this. This is a really pivotal month. I mean, it's a potent month. It's pivotal. And I know Julian's going to be talking about that here in a few minutes too.
Yeah, we don't want to steal his thunder. But there's a lot going on February, March, April. So for those of you that are like, oh, 2020 is over, 2021 is going to be a breeze. I'd say probably more so about transformation and change and things moving rapidly. So this is not the year where you're just going to kick your feet up and coast.
Yep, totally agree. Cool.
Yeah.
Julian out. Julian,
I think we need to bring Julian.
All right. So here we go. I'm going to introduce our guest. He is the London astrologer, and we are so excited to have Julian with us. And I'm going to bring him in right now. Here we go. Hello.
Hello. Hi. How you doing? Hi. Hello, everybody.
Welcome,
thank
Julian.
You very much. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, yeah, hello. I'm very pleased to be on this show. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
I'll have my pen.
Yeah.
All right. Great. I thought today maybe I could start talking a bit about Mercury retrograde, because that's the very current aspect that's happening right now. And of course, there's also another greater theme at the moment. And that is the fact that for the first time since 1962, there are 7 planets in Aquarius. And this is a huge movement that's just building up now. It's a social movement, a cultural movement. There's a whole new social economic system that will be built out of this. And if you think back to 1962, when we had actually 7 planets in Aquarius, there's actually going to be 6 this time, but I'll explain what happened. Of course, that was the beginning of the 1960s, which was a huge revolution in consciousness and progress. But the 2 planets that were really key to why it went why the 60s fizzled out and didn't really carry on as a movement were the fact that Jupiter and Saturn, which are very much planets of social integration into the world, like society-based planets, they had met in the earthy sign and very organized and grounded and controlling sign of Capricorn in 1961. And when they moved into Aquarius, and that was a very nice movement, so the planet in Aquarius that led to this to the 1960s. Now this time, and you've probably watched it in the news and noticed this, that what people were talking about, the great star or the great conjunction, the new star, the Christmas star. People were talking about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. This time, Jupiter and Saturn have met in Aquarius. And so rather than meeting in Capricorn, they're now meeting in the humanitarian sign of Aquarius, which is very much more conceptual and intellectual and thinking and ideas. So this time, when we have the pileup of planets coming up this month in Aquarius, then the movement's going to stay with Aquarian things. So in your chart and in your life, if you look to where Aquarius is in your chart, it doesn't have to have planets in there or anything like that, but there's going to be a very strong focus in your life where these planets are building up. So right now, we've got the Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. So what this means is Mercury has a particular pattern that it creates, and it goes over a particular cycle of time. When people say, "Oh, Mercury retrograde is coming along, it's going to be chaos and everything goes wrong and all that. Well, that's the old way of looking at Mercury retrograde. There is, in fact, a new way of looking at Mercury retrograde. And the new way is to understand it as a slightly more alchemical process. And it involves the symbol of the six-pointed star. So wherever you've seen a six-pointed star, that's two triangles. Okay, so they're inverted. This is the actual symbol of the Mercury pattern. And what it is Mercury makes conjunctions with the sun. Now, this is based on a visual astronomy, basically, because a real astrology started off with the stargazers looking at the sky and noticing what happened every night. So it has a visual element to this, and the visual element is this: the sun is the light, right? So there's very, you can't look at the sun, okay? And Mercury, of course, is the closest planet to the sun. So Mercury has a dance going around the sun. If this is the sun, and Mercury has this dance going around the sun, okay? So, and from where we are on Earth, we see this dance going on. We don't see Mercury very much, okay? It's very rare to see it because when the sun's shining, it's too bright to look at, okay? But every few months, Mercury gets far enough away from the sun, okay, that we can see it. And we call those phases Mercury morning star because it can be seen before the sun rises in the east, okay? And then we call it Mercury evening star because we can see it after sunset in the west. Does this make sense? Everyone got that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a visual thing, okay? Now, in our life, because we, in our human experience, are but reflections. We're like the mirrors of what's going on in the planets. So Mercury has this moment where it switches the sky, okay? So it goes from a dark sky, the Mercury light, as it were, the Mercury star, and then it becomes a morning light. So it goes from like the dark sky to the light sky. Now, Mercury is known as the messenger of the gods, okay? It means that it goes in all the different areas of consciousness. Mercury has a receptivity or connects to heaven. It connects to Earth in the middle. It connects to the unconscious or the subconscious or the hidden, the underworld underneath. Okay, so Mercury is going between these two. And of course, the light of the sun is the middle bit, right? And Mercury in heaven is the bit when Mercury is farthest away from the sun, could be the morning star, and when it's in the evening star, it's, but it is actually about its conjunction to the sun. Okay, so what happens with Mercury is it meets the sun, and there's a thing called the inferior conjunction and the superior conjunction. Is this too far out, or are we? Is this...
I love it.
I love it. I don't know if everyone watching is following, but
I love it.
But maybe I should bring it back to the chart a bit, to our own experience, because I do go off, I can like talk, and I just must remember to sort of stay focused today. So, all right. But this is something you could ask me about in readings, okay? Because I go right into detail with this, and I'll explain your own lives and in your own charts. Right now, Mercury is in Aquarius, okay? So it's about having an awareness of things. It's having new ideas. It's having conceptual stuff. It's having knowledge and intelligence, okay? So it's having deeper thinking going on, right? And because of this pile up of planets in Aquarius, the gathering of the planets in Aquarius, then Mercury is going to be going over most of these at the moment, and it's giving us some time to think about new ideas because of what we've been through collectively on the planet, the COVID thing. As those restrictions are lifted, because the COVID begin to disperse now, The thing will happen is that we've got new ideas coming on. You know, it's like, what can I do with my life? What do I want to do with my life? You know, that sort of stuff. There's some really exciting new potential. And Mercury is an air planet, and Aquarius is an air sign. So there's a nice matching there. Now, the real beginning of this Aries won't happen but we'll start on February the 11th with the new moon in Aquarius. Okay, so it's February the 9th to February the 11th that the moon, there's 6 planets in Aquarius. And that is at 23 degrees Aquarius. Now, that 23 degrees Aquarius is also very key to the Mercury retrograde cycle at the moment. Okay, so the reason I'm saying this, and the reason I went off on that tangent just now and I'm bringing it back again, is that the new way of seeing Mercury is the morning star, the evening star, and when it goes conjuncts the sun, all happen in the same area of the zodiac. There's a little bit of the zodiac, just a few degrees, where you get Mercury reaches out at its morning star, it reaches out at its evening star, and it has a conjunction with the, all in the same place. And this was not recognized for quite a long time, right? It's only recently, in the last, say, 3-4 years, that people have really dawned that on their consciousness with this one. And it's very, very exciting because it really refines Mercury retrograde as a thing, and it really highlights people's particular specific experiences. So the really incredible hot dates right now for people to get some Mercury insights are the people who are born between the 8th and 11th of February, the 8th and 11th of May, the 8th and 11th of August, and the 8th and 11th of November. But also, it's the people who were born between the 25th and the 28th of March, and the 25th and the 28th of December, and also the 7th and 10th of July, or the 7th and 10th of October. Now, Mercury is doing some high pressure stuff in your life right now. If you or a family member or a friend has their birth dates in those areas, then you really should be getting a good chart reading at this point in time, because there'll be so much to say about that. Or maybe a psychic will pick up on stuff for you, or, you know, but there's a very, very key dates right now for people to experience that Mercury retrograde. So it's about ideas, thinking, it's about decisions, it's about planning things out. And again, it's that idea of what can be reformed, what can be invented, what, you know, connecting to the universal mind. Okay, so those people with those birth dates are probably coming through with some really interesting stuff right now. And it's just that, you know, there's just a few dates there, you know, but they are very important ones. And so there, you know, there's some insight for you. So, you know, do come back to me, or come and find my website there for my YouTube channel is Julian the London Astrologer. But I think maybe, are you okay if I give you a bit more information about the week ahead? Would you?
Yeah,
yes, that would be great. Yeah, Mercury retrograde is always so interesting. I too kind of thought before, like, oh my gosh, Mercury retrograde, we're all in for it. It's going to be terrible. But now I'm actually starting to find that the energy of Mercury retrograde can bring a lot of new birth of ideas and moving things forward. So yes, technology still for me is a bit all over the place, but I do think it's a really important period to push things forward.
Yes, absolutely. And it most certainly is, you know, like a good time to come up with some new ideas, you know, because that Mercury, what it's doing is it goes into the unconscious or the subconscious mind, brings stuff up. That's why people used to say with Mercury retrograde, oh, it's so much chaos, oh, I can't, my computer broke down, my car breaks down, everything goes wrong. Yeah, that's because they weren't listening to their unconscious mind or their subconscious mind, because all the answer's there all the time. You just got to take time to listen to what's going on, to listen to your stream of thought and consciousness. You know, it's like a stream, isn't it? Are we transmitters? Are we receivers? I mean, it's a pretty powerful place. The human experience is amazing. You know, we have this stream of consciousness, don't we? You know, and it's like, well, we'll pick stuff out, you know, and all the time, Mercury's bringing that stuff up that's symbolic, or that, that's deeply hidden, and then it comes up and it's like, oh yeah, and you'll have the ideas. It's whether you listen to those ideas or not. And that's how that Mercury retrograde will then say, well, I'm taking this out from the depths, from the inner sense of self, the deeper parts of my being, if you like, and I'm going to bring it up. Mercury will bring it up to the surface, so it's like the evening star through to the morning star. And and it's like, well, did I take notice of that? Am I going to make something with that? Am I going to turn it into something? Or am I just going to pretend that life's like it is, and and I ignore it, and then it interrupts my life, because I didn't pay attention to it. So that's the difference, is understanding that there's that sense of by matching the visual phenomena that actually happens in the sky, we can also see that there's a story to tell in our lives that we have to kind of tune back into, and then you'll have less chaos and more easier to plan, because everything that you are, everything that you can be, will be in that cycle, with and more so than that, just to explain the six-pointed star very briefly, is Mercury conjuncts the sun 6 times in a year, and it makes a beautiful six-pointed star in the sky. And it does it in signs of the same element. So right now we're starting Mercury in air signs. So we've got 18 months now of Mercury making a retrograde Aquarius, followed by one in Gemini, followed by one in Libra, followed by one in Aquarius. And that's going to be the next cycle in air. So it's a great time for developing communicative relationships, coming up with intellectual ideas, applying logic and rationality to things, being aware of concepts and what can be new. It's a very good time for ideas. Again, please come and talk to me about a reading, because Mercury does cycles on a 6-year cycle as well. So and that is really key to understanding yourself in this lifetime. So a really good astrology reading will map everything out for you, and I do offer those. So do come and talk to me.
Beautiful.
I know, I love it. I love Mercury. Mercury and I are good friends, so I actually really love Mercury retrograde most of the time. So this is fascinating information, because it's definitely communication and all that stuff, and technology is like right up my alley. So this is cool stuff. So yeah, what do you got for the week, Julian? I want to hear what's coming up.
Thank you. So yeah, well, the big thing, you see, you've spotted it in your news articles and predictions, things like earthquakes and mudslides and all this sort of stuff, right? Well, what's actually going on that's beautifully matched with the astrology for this year, because it's Saturn square Uranus. And Uranus is the disruptor, is the rebel, is the earthquake, quite literally, okay? And Saturn is the earthiness, the infrastructure, if you like. And because they're making a tense alignment to each other, which happens on the 17th of February, on the 14th and 15th of June, and on the 23rd and 24th of December this year, that is when the whole structure of society is going to have shaking foundations. So there's a lot going on that's really, this is a year of big change, all right? And it's about getting ready for that. Okay. Now, of course, in your own chart, there'll be a specific areas that's playing out in. But this week, on Friday, the 5th of February, tomorrow, it's Venus conjunct Saturn. So the planet Venus, which is the planet of love and relationships, and the planet of values and self-worth. It's the attracting magnetic planet, what we attract into our lives. It's meeting Saturn in Aquarius. And this is a time where we might feel a little bit emotionally inhibited about things. Okay. It can be a little bit of a challenge. A Venus Saturn, it happens once a year. Venus conjunct Saturn, pretty much like clockwork, once a year. So with that, you're going to get possibly a sense of duty, a sense of maybe a bit narrow-minded about things. Some difficulties in relationships could be possible. There may be a sense of heart dominated by duty, okay? Or there may be a little bit of loneliness. And of course, well, where I am here in the UK right now, we're in this big lockdown thing going on, you know, and people are really separated and they're so distant from each other. And it's a nightmare, you know. And the Venus Saturn is going to highlight that very strongly. So, you know, it's things like that, you see. But it's about also applying practicality to your love and your affection. All right. So think like that. Think about in terms of structure and orderliness and giving it some boundaries and rules. And that's a positive way of looking at Venus Saturn, you see. It might be a little bit of sober or restrained affection, you know. It could be Saturn could be associated to older people. So it could be that when Venus comes along, the older person has good advice, all right, particularly about relationships. So there's a sense of being like needing to bridge the gap, you know, because Venus is the warm heart, you know, the gracious person. And Saturn is the cold one, you know, distant. And so it's like relating with loyalty and soberness about things. Okay. So, but there can be the sense of economizing or limiting. So expect that as well. I mean, just watch the news for that sort of stuff, you know, stock market, that kind of stuff, you know, and generally Venus Saturn can hold something back. Okay. And so that's England time, Friday the 5th. So it probably plays out, and I can give you the
like tomorrow morning, probably here.
But it's Friday. And then we move straight afterwards. We've then got Venus making a square to Uranus. That's Saturday the 6th. So Friday the 5th is the restriction, Venus to Saturn. Saturday the 6th then brings in the square, which is tension based. When you have a square in astrology, you have two things that can't be done at the same time. So they have to go one thing or the other thing. And there's a push tension between the two. And so Venus wants to love and be attractive and enjoy things and have pleasurable times. Uranus wants to shake it up and break it down, right? And make it like weird and strange. And so, you know, with Venus square Uranus, I think a good way to put this could be called peculiar inclinations, right? Because it's like, you know, a bit of sensitivity, a bit of nervousness, maybe a bit of repressed emotional desires, like a blurt, you know, like, oh my God, I just wanted to say, whoop. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that, you know, that kind of thing, you know? And
it sounds like a wild weekend, Julian.
Well, it is. And if you look at the news, right, if you've got to follow the news stories, right, there'll be, right, guaranteed there'll be some celebrity make and breakups, right? That's always going to happen. There's going to be a political scandal, right? Because it's Venus to Saturn, right? You know, okay. Saturn being the sort of politics and Venus being the relationship, you know, and that sort of stuff. There's going to be, you know, there'll be something to do with financial markets, right? Maybe one or two specific things. This is where astrology you can get really into the details, you know, which is probably too much to tell you now, but, you know, it's just, there's so much stuff to say there, you know. And then Venus, Uranus is just going to be people doing like wanting an adventure, to be honest. It's the love adventure, you know, because it's Venus, Uranus, or it's the excitement, right? It's impatience, it's flirtation, right? So it's like there's no constraints and there's new experience. And Mike, we've got to get out of here. It's Venus, Uranus, you know. It reminds me of that song by the Animals, you know. Oh, anyway, there's a 1960s song that got, you know, we got to get out of this place, right? That is Venus, Uranus, okay. And so, you know, it's the idea of, but also if life is fairly normal, right, then just look for things like keeping flexibility within a relationship, okay. So or maybe, you know, watch out for impulsive money spending, okay, because that would also be Venus, Uranus, okay. So in a way, what you've got there is this idea that Venus meets Saturn on the Friday. Oh God, I can't bear this relationship anymore, or something like that. You know, that kind of weighty, heavy gravitas. You know, the weight's on the shoulders with Saturn gravity. So it's like, ooh, you know, my shoulders are going down. You know, because oh God, you know, and that like that, right? And then the next day, Venus squares Uranus. I've got this great idea. You know what? I think we need to blah 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 blah, right? And that is allowing for exciting new different things. So it's going to be a really interesting weekend, you know. And, so look out for something exciting to happen, right? You know, because it'll feel like you're pushed down first on Friday to then, and then it's like do you know that little thing where you get it's like a kid's toy with the Jack in the Box, you know?
Yes.
And you have the little wheel, you turn it, and it goes diddly-ding, 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 and then the lid opens and it goes boing. You know? Right? Well, that's kind of like Venus Saturn, and then the Venus Uranus afterwards, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, actually, you know. So I think, I mean, in England, from my perspective here in the UK, it's going to be a bit like people have had enough of the lockdown. You know, the COVID figures are reducing, right? Just over the last few days, in fact, they're saying actually the second wave's finishing, and you know, people ain't going to wait around anymore. You know, because we are so done with it. You know, we've had 3 lockdowns. It's just been an absolute nightmare, and so people are just going to be like literally opening their doors and going, right, come on, it's almost spring, let's get on with it, let's have some fun, let's interact, let's get social, which of course is Aquarius. So, you know, because Aquarius likes the group or the community or the socialization. There we go.
You know what, I love that explanation. I am convinced that if anyone could look at a chart and figure out why I've been single and never married, it would be Julian.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, that was great.
Yeah.
Come and talk to me about readings, you know. And
For sure.
Yeah. So now there's a bit more to tell you, okay? Because we've also got later this week. Well, building up actually, the really nice thing is today is last quarter moon, okay? So we're finishing up the last lunar cycle. We've got 7 days to go before the next new moon. So next Thursday, okay, the 11th of February, there'll be the new moon in Aquarius, and with that, on that day, there's a very nice Venus conjunct Jupiter, and I've got to tell you, folks, that's going to be well looking forward to, all right? Because Venus Jupiter happens once a year, okay, and it's a beautiful thing, okay, because Jupiter wants to make things big, right, and expansive, and opportunities, and bigger things, and Venus is really finding joy often, you know, where you find that moment where you're like, God, I'm really getting on well with everybody, you know, that sort of thing. So Venus Jupiter, when it meets and in Aquarius, then we're looking at things like sociable things, popular things, you know, even falling in love, you know, because a Venus Jupiter can be like, wow, you know, acting, and there's outward happiness to experience, harmonious relationships, you know. Again, it's the idea of Venus being the warm heart or the gracious or a bit tactful even, you know. It's like a Venus is where people connect, you know. So it's a great time to having had the crazy weekend that we're about to get, we then get a really nice wave of frequency, which of course is the Aquarius symbol, the 2 waves, you know. And that's where we're headed. You know, we're all heading into this new kind of frequency or wave, you know, the divine love, divinity is coming back, folks. You know, this is very exciting, you know, and this is where I think astrology is about to have a massive renaissance being the idea of the new birth or the rebirth. It's this huge moment where there's just going to be, we're going to find our divine center again, you know, which is our connection to the creator or to the god and the goddess, you know, whatever it is you look out for, you'll find within, you know. And that's unconditional love as well, you know. We're moving into this as a social movement, a cultural movement. It's so exciting. So, you know, we've got so many good things coming up, and
that's so much in 1 week. I love that.
All in 1 week. Yeah. Brilliant. So
I love it.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so that is where we're headed, you know. I mean, Aquarius, all the planets in Aquarius, of course, we have to think about celestial intuition. You know, we think about things like, how can we reform the world that we're in, you know. I mean, we've got, you know, movements, you know, we just had in America, you just had the Biden inauguration and things, you know, they are talking big things going on there. You know, there's a lot of big movement. So it's about being more original. It's about, finding new ways of thinking about things and reordering society. The strength of reform is going to be so strong in the next few years. It's going to be amazing to see, so very exciting times.
Julian, it's been so awesome having you on today, and I just love you so much already, and we've only just met, really. But I want to give you some space. I know Dallisa and I want you to be able to share how folks can connect with you, and then we've got it coming across the screen and in the show notes, but it's also worth having you say it live on audio. So
thank you.
How can folks connect with you, and what kinds of things do you offer?
Okay, super. I have a YouTube channel, which is streaming live now with this show. My YouTube channel is Julian the London Astrologer. I have a website called londonastrologer.com. That's where you can book me for a reading, and that's really. And I have other social media as well, so you can find all those, Twitter and Instagram and things like that. Do come and talk to me about readings. I mean, I've been an astrologer for 25 years. I have the internationally recognized diploma in astrology. And so I got fully educated in all things astrological. And I can really do, I think my speciality is client readings, actually. So, I do talk, I can really help you out and help you understand yourself. The way I see astrology is one of the most important things in life is to know yourself. Okay, I mean, what else could you do? What else would you want to do apart from really, you're here to know yourself, to understand yourself. That's the purpose of soul. Your soul's on your journey. You're developing your consciousness as you move through life. You're moving through these different time phases and cycles, and each time and all the time you're growing in your soul and you're knowing yourself. And astrology is the map to that. It's the map of understanding yourself. And it's the one thing that, once you've discovered it, you learn self-acceptance. You get to understand yourself better. It's just a beautiful way of seeing life, and there's something about being really understanding the speciality of just knowing that the connection to the stars. That what goes on up in the heavens is reflected here in your own life. Because we are in outer space right now. We are in it already. We're standing on the surface of a planet. That's pretty special. and because we're in it, we're of it. Because we're in it, we're of it. So come and talk to me for a reading, and I shall thoroughly entertain you and give you some fantastic insights as well.
I was definitely entertained today. Absolutely.
Yes.
I enjoyed this so much. Julian, I'm grateful that the universe connected us together and that you were able to come on during our very first episode of this morning and give your forecast for the week ahead. There were a lot of comments that were coming in as you were speaking about how they loved you speaking about Mercury retrograde and how it was working. And so a lot of positive comments in regards to what you said. So we appreciate you taking the time and energy to be with us on our very first show.
Yes,
fantastic.
Thank you, Julian, so much. And we hope to have you back again in the future. And
I would love to be on this show again. So do just keep in touch, and speak to you soon. Thank you for choosing me as your astrologer today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys, and I really just, I'll be along as soon as you ask me back.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing day, Julian. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, he's so fun.
So fun. Oh my
that
gosh.
was great. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yes.
I learned a lot about Mercury, and I feel Mercury is so important, and the retrogrades, like he said, bringing what's in your subconscious mind forward. And so I feel like if you're doing the work every day, all day, and you're conscious of it and you're trying to heal your wounds, Mercury retrograde will likely be a very positive period for you. That's what I took from it. What did you get?
Yeah, it's interesting. I loved that he said it's different than maybe how it used to be because it feels different. I think you and I both talked about that before the show, is that it seems like we have this like momentum in the middle of Mercury retrograde. And so I've always seen So Mercury retrograde really hasn't ever been super dramatic for me. Whatever that is, I'll have to talk to Julian and find out what it is in my chart. But I know I have a lot of Mercury going on in my chart, or else I wouldn't even be doing shows like this and all the technical work. But so it's never been dramatic for me. However, there definitely is always old stuff that comes up. And so I've always looked at it as like, you know, what is going to come up that I still need to look at or to work through. And what I've noticed this particular retrograde, so I love what Julian said about it being different, is instead of like old, like garbage energy to deal with, it's almost like old ideas coming up to be birthed in new ways. So that's kind of what I think about it. So it's really interesting hearing what Julian had to say, because that really reflects what I'm feeling, which is there's all these things I loved in the past that are coming up to actually like bring to fruition now. So I think it's kind of interesting.
I'm seeing a lot of that same energy right now, and I think it's perfect. We launched our morning show during Mercury retrograde, and for those of you asking or commenting, this is a weekly show. So Lisa and I will be back same time next Thursday. We have one more segment we're going to do, but as you see at the bottom of your screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, LisaMGunshore.com and SpiritAndSpark.com, and then LondonAstrologer.com would be all three websites for today's show. And don't forget to download Lisa's new app so that you and then upload your picture of you with your coffee mug so we can feature you on next week's episode.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and don't forget, all three of us have YouTube channels. So don't forget Spirit and Spark TV. Buddhist Biohacker is my YouTube channel, and then Julian the London Astrologer is his YouTube channel. We'd love it if you'd subscribe. You know, the best part of subscribing to a YouTube channel is being notified when we go live, and we do go live a lot on Buddhist Biohacker. I know Dallisa does on Spirit and Spark TV, so it's worth getting those notifications. And I know that we have all kinds of shows on our channels that are up for you guys to look at and see what's upcoming on the calendar too. So don't forget to subscribe also and like and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to do one more segment, and just one last request I have for everybody before we close out is if you loved what we brought you today and you found value and it was entertaining, please share it with 3 friends or family members and meet us back here next Thursday. We're really trying to grow what we're sharing and doing it from a place of love and kindness and light. And so we would love for you to help share our show with other people as well. So yeah, let's do our last segment. It's called Soul to Soul. So let's bring that up. Oh, I love this. So as we were brainstorming different segments to have on our morning show, I felt like let's leave people with something to think about in between episodes, between this morning and coming back and joining us next Thursday. Of course, I'm sure you'll see our content throughout the week, but before we see you next Thursday, I pulled out this book. It's If, and it's Questions for the Game of Life. And I picked a kind of a question at random this morning. And the thought is that I just want you to think about it. Maybe you even want to journal about it and see what comes forward for you. And the question is, if you could ask a single question of someone on the other side, someone who's passed away, what would it be and whom would you ask it to? Okay, so if you could connect with somebody on the other side, what would be one question that you would ask them? So pick a person and pick the question, ponder that. And if you want to bring it into the comments next Thursday, we'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I have an idea. Let's just throw this out there. So this is the community app. So you can go straight to your Apple App Store and search Ajatakasha. It's Sanskrit for boundless and infinite space, which is so fabulous. Download the app, get into our community, go to this morning's group and join the group. Anyone can join it. And why don't you post your answer in there?
Oh, yeah.
And to that question, so why don't you read it one more time, Dallisa, and post your answer to this in the group, and maybe Dallisa and we'll answer some of them. I don't know.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Yeah,
Lisa and I have done mediumship together. Yeah. So the question is, who would the one person be that you want to connect with on the other side? And what is the question that you would want to ask them?
Yeah. And maybe next week on Thursday's show, we'll answer some of them for you guys, and you'll get to get some kind of message. I think that'd be fun.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So we'll see everybody back here next Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain Time for This Morning with Lisa and Dallisa. So our first show is in the books. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Have an amazing morning. And if you come over to Buddhist Biohacker YouTube, we'll be live in 11 minutes at 11:11 with a special guest. And thank you so much, Dallisa. I love you so much. I'm so glad we're doing this.
Love you too. All right, we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.